Guys, how's it going? Welcome, my friends.
Gosh, we're live. We're live in DC.
We got a very special guest here. We got our political correspondent, Tim Moore, coming straight from his loft in DC.
Oh wow, I heard about this guy Tim.
How you doing, Tim?
Pretty good. I thought I could, bring some insight to the topic. I'm glad you guys hit me up.
Oh yeah. Which, by the way, Tyler, what's our topic for this episode?
Well, we got a nice little pre-election special for you guys. We thought it would be fun to run through the election map and talk about some of the Senate seats and just some of the elections that are taking place on Tuesday, tomorrow. So we
Wow.
thought it would be fun. I can't believe it's been 2 years since the last election. It's the country where elections are just going on forever.
Can you believe it's tomorrow? It's tomorrow. Election day is this close.
I'm getting the hype. I don't know about you guys. I thoroughly, since I was younger, I actually genuinely like elections, and even taking it apart from, Democrat, Republican, or what side you're supporting, I've always really enjoyed elections just because it's just interesting how certain states vote a certain way, why they vote a certain way, and just changing demographics as, because every 2 years things change rapidly. I mean, what's happening in Georgia, the fact that they've been so red for so long now is, a really good chance for Democrats to pick up Senate seats and the presidency, which has been a while since that's happened.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil my opinions, but yeah, that. Never in my lifetime did I think that Georgia would be leaning blue.
I mean, Texas too.
Texas. I was going to say Texas.
And I know. I was reading 2018 because a lot of flips happened for the Democrats in Texas, and I was reading just general articles about the state, and they said it's funny how California is so blue and diverse, and Texas demographically is nearly identical to California, but I guess there's just a lot more voter suppression and things of that nature where it's not as inclusive in the voting process. So it's just a lot of people aren't in the process, and we've seen already Texas has surpassed all of 2016 voting, and it's not even election day yet.
That is one thing that is wild. Go ahead, Tim.
No, that's what I was trying to say. It feels like, especially in not like you see New York, you see California, and you think the liberals in those places, they go out and they vote. But there's a lot of other places like Texas, like you're saying, which has a huge demographic population that's very similar, but I feel like they don't do it. Like, I mean, if you look at the early voting this year already compared to like 4 years ago, this might be like the biggest turnout we've ever had as a country.
That's what I was going to say. The turnout has been wild, just demolishing any other early voting records by far.
It's good. Like we talked about in previous episodes, Josh and I, that we always preach, oh, free country, we have all these rights, but it's like some people don't ever take their most fundamental right and go vote so they have a choice in government. And it's like, you preach freedom and all this, but you don't want to be a part of the process. And I love the fact that people are voting now, whether they're hype for Trump or hate Trump or love Joe or hate Joe. Like, it's nice that people are actually involved and aware, barring whatever side. It's nice to see for once.
100%. I think most people, the vibe I'm getting is they're ready for this season to be over. I mean, both sides.
Oh, it's been somehow arduously slow and so quick at the same time these last few months. It's weird.
Well, I think
like
everyone,
you can't believe it's over, but you feel every part of it.
I feel like everyone's had their decision made like 6 months ago. So we're just waiting for this date, basically.
It's kind of hilarious, though, and this is kind of going on our topic, that you're still undecided, that people are still undecided at this point. And I feel like the people who are undecided are just kind of not politically involved, or they don't want to commit to either candidate,
or they don't want to say which candidate they're supporting as well.
Yeah, I would say publicly there's a lot of undecided people because there's a lot of very heavy opinions right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a lot of vitriol towards people who, support Joe Biden, may worry of attacks from the other side and vice versa. It's not just one-sided. We've seen it's been both ways, unfortunately. So I think there's a lot of that. And like I said previous, politics has always been taboo, but it's not so much anymore. Now it's like you wear it on your sleeve, and things like wearing a mask has become such a political statement of what political party you side with.
I never thought that it would have became a political statement about whether or not you want to be conscious of health.
I mean, you're a perfect candidate. You had COVID, so I mean, you
Yeah.
you had a rough go of it too.
Oh yeah, I was miserable. It was horrid. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I got lucky too because I mean I'm a young, relatively healthy guy, and I was down for the count for 2 weeks. I mean, there were days where I was sleeping like 19 hours a day, getting up, drinking water, using the bathroom. That's it, and
That's crazy.
It was hellacious. I didn't like it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy too because I hear a lot of people ask, "Oh, do you know anyone who got it?" Because they keep talking about it, but I don't know anyone. I'm like, I know a few people who have gotten it, and I mean,
Yeah,
not to
we know
mention
quite a
just
few.
we all work in
Yeah,
a hospital, so we've seen a multitude of people come in and not looking too hot, you know. And we know people that have died, and it's a rough thing. It's very upsetting, but you know, we are where we are, unfortunately.
Mhm. Tyler, I can't help but notice. What's that shirt you're wearing?
This is gonna turn off my right wing viewers, but we got a leprechaun man,
Oh my gosh.
Donald Trump, and you know he's got his pot of gold that he sold the American people 4 years ago. That no one actually has any gold. We're all still broke and dealing with a pandemic and just dying. So, what do you got behind you there?
I'm just at the rally. I'm actually outside right now.
Oh yeah, that's why you got the jacket on. It's pretty cold
Yeah.
in Minnesota, right?
Oh yeah, and
Oh my God, it's Sleepy Joe.
it's Joe. He's here. He's watching us.
Where's your mask, Josh?
Oh, sorry, I pulled it down so you could hear me, but
Don't worry, Joe's always masked up. Every time I see him, he's got the biggest mask on. He could be like 4,000 feet away from someone, and he's still got a mask
Joe.
on.
That's pretty stupid. That's pretty stupid of you to say, Tyler.
What? I'm repeating what the president said. I'm.
No, that was the joke.
Oh well, sorry. I got so offended. God, Josh could run for president if that's the new look of president.
He looks just like Joe. I can't even tell the difference.
I mean, ignore that. But we're ready.
All right, so I thought it would be interesting to get our different views on. I found a blank map on CNN actually for the Electoral College. So I thought it'd be fun to like share our opinions of what we think is going to happen. So here we got our map here. I think this election is going to go two ways. And I'll start right off the bat. I mean, we know the general.
Yeah, we can cut.
So
We're
obviously,
going to establish what we kind of
already know. Let's see.
And I mean,
likely.
Yes, polling means nothing, but we have
a
very good historical kind of precedent set in this.
Do you guys think that since Donald Trump came into play that his support has been underpolled? Because I think it has.
Underpolled? Yes.
Like I mean, we've seen like they did technically get the whole Hillary thing correct with, you know, how much percentage points she was up by. They didn't really calculate the Electoral College. And I also feel that there were a lot, and I still think to this day, as noisy as they are as Trump supporters with their flags and whatnot, I still think that there are people out there who don't want to say that
they underestimate him.
Yeah, pretty much. So, all right. Well, we definitely know these are. We know which ways these are swinging.
Really, you think Trump's gonna? You think Trump's getting Kentucky? Trump, sorry.
All right. The Mormons love Donnie out there. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We'll stick to that. So, I'm leaving these. These are. Well, this is not a swing state. This actually is not either. All right. So, you know, this is where things have gotten very interesting. And I really don't see a path to victory for Donald Trump either way. I see this as going two ways.
Well, go ahead.
I think Trump or Biden, excuse me, can either win the states he needs to win, which historically, you know, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, he's not going to win that most likely. Let's say he doesn't win Iowa. They're probably not going to win Indiana. So these are basically our final states. Let's say even if Trump does win Texas, or the states he's supposed to win, being Georgia, let's say he even wins North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, even if he wins Arizona, I mean, that's Biden just winning the states he needs to win. And as you see, he's already well past there. But this is such a weird year in the sense that I never thought in my lifetime I would see a Democrat down 2 in Montana, down 3 in Alaska, polling better than the Republican in North Carolina and Georgia. So my actual theory on how this is going to go, I think will look something like this. So we'll have
definitely blue in Arizona for
sure.
I
think Arizona is
going to take it.
Yeah, and from what it looks like, I think he's going to get North Carolina. My hunch is I think it's going to go something like this. I actually think he is going to win Georgia. I don't think Donald Trump, or I don't think Joe is going to win Florida or Ohio. Now, just living here, Florida, and I think what we're seeing is a very significant shift with a lot of younger people, more diverse, moving to Georgia for job opportunities, better wages. And what we see here is tons of New Yorkers, New Jersey, the more conservative people up north coming down here. And as purple as they say Florida's been, it's just, from what I've seen, has been very increasingly red and part of the South.
It looks really red outside your car window. That's all I'm saying. It doesn't. Yeah. I'm not seeing a split.
And then, I mean, on a perfect night, we could see something like Joe Biden winning Florida, winning Texas, and Montana seems weird, but because it's highly likely that the Montana governor, who's term limited, is running for a Senate seat to flip that Senate seat. He's polling way better than the incumbent Republican. There's a possibility that could even Biden's down by like 4 there, which is in the margin of error. So, and let's say he wins Iowa and Ohio. Well, then you're looking at one of the biggest victories since Reagan. So, in the way this year has gone, and just the way I've seen people, and again, you can't look at the polling, but the way I've seen people just react, in my mind, this could very well be a possibility. Possibility, yes. Reality, probably maybe not.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be this drastic, but I think it's definitely a huge uphill fight for Donald for sure.
Do we both agree with your base template? I agree with, like, before you altered all this, just how we think we're pretty sure the non-swing states are going to go. I'm in agreement with you, Tim. Do you agree with Tyler's assessment there?
Yeah, he didn't do anything that I thought was out of the ordinary. I thought it was pretty great.
Okay.
That's what I would have put.
Pennsylvania is what scares me, though, and it's a state like that. But like I said, I really don't see a pathway to victory, because even if he doesn't win Pennsylvania, he's still got he would have to win every single one of these and make sure he got Texas. And look, he would barely be put over. And that's saying he wins Texas, which Texas has not voted for a Democratic president since 1976 for Jimmy Carter. Mm-hmm. So again, it's demographics have changed in the last 40 some odd years, 50 years. So that is very,
I feel like this right here is a definite possibility. I mean, it's going to take a lot, but it would take a lot.
I think that's more doable. That's more doable than Texas.
Well, listen, I also on this one, I gave him Minnesota, which puts him at 273. He didn't win Minnesota the first time, and I don't think he's going to win it this time. Mm-hmm. So this could be a bare minimum. Now, in this scenario, he's down 275 to 263. Trump would have to take Georgia. That puts him over. And if Biden wins Georgia, but Trump gets North Carolina, that puts him over as well. Mm-hmm. So we're really seeing Georgia could be like that outlier purple state right now that could really decide the election, which historically has been Florida. So
yeah, it's about time it's not us.
Well, they have him, I believe, the last poll again. Polling doesn't mean anything. Make sure you vote, everyone. But polling again shows he's up 2 in Florida. again, there's a 5% margin of error, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
Have you guys?
Oh, go
You
ahead,
guys
Tim. I'm
voted
sorry.
already, right?
Yeah.
Oh
guys
yeah.
voted?
Yes.
Did you, sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did you vote by mail or go in?
I went in.
I did the mail in, but I just dropped it off at the little polling box. I wasn't sure with COVID how everything was gonna go. So that was the only outlier. This is the first election I've actually voted by mail. I've always done actual in-person voting. Our county does a very good
I don't
job.
mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't mind voting by mail. I think it's great. I think it's fine. But I did it in person just because for me, I live so close to where my actual voting center is that it was genuinely easier for me to just go and do it.
Yeah. I voted by mail and I put mine in my mailbox and it says counted. So
Yeah, likewise. I know my mom voted by mail, and she did the same Dropbox thing. She went, and they flagged her for signature. She had to go through this whole ring of fire just to get it counted. And I said it's another perfect
I've been hearing
example
about that.
of why fraud doesn't really occur with these vote by mail. Even people who are legitimately in the voting process, who are voting for themselves, if your signature is off by a hair of a signature on your license from 6 years ago, they still flag you.
I actually had that happen to me. Not on this election. It may even been the 2016 election. It was either that or a midterm, but they sent mine back for my signature, and I had to verify. So I mean, there are people are checking these. I mean, it is.
Oh yeah, they flagged me on like 3 out of my 5 ballots that I put in. It was ridiculous.
So I wanted to also switch gears from presidential race because, as we've seen in history, especially midterms, no one ever treats them as seriously as presidential races, when in fact Congress is possibly, I think we've seen the last 8 years, is probably more important than having the presidency. And I think a lot of liberals, when Obama was in office, we saw how many seats the Republican Party picked up in the House, in the Senate, judiciary, across the country, local governments. I feel like, to an extent, liberals think the presidency is the end all be all. Oh, we're fine. We have Obama. It's fine. And now you see a lot of vitriol towards him, but don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things he could have did better, but what did he have to work with for the last 6 years of his presidency?
Yeah.
So
He was definitely stonewalled by basically every other branch of government. Just was red.
So every election matters, and every election is just as important as the previous. So, and I, like I said, I think a lot of liberals don't understand that you want these progressive policies to pass. You want these things to happen. You can't just rely on the president. He can't just sign an executive order every day. Because now that they have a 6-3 disadvantage on the Supreme Court, every executive order is just going to get overturned anyway, even if it's constitutional. So, yeah. I mean, and now the court issue is another thing that's going to play out. And
we expand the courts if we proceed that way. I mean, what's the solution here?
I don't know, Tim. You want to grab that one?
I don't know why everybody's so well. I mean, not everybody. I shouldn't say that. Conservatives seem to be really hung up on numbers now that they've got who they want in. They're like, you can't possibly, if you win, appoint more judges. And
wouldn't they do the same thing?
Exactly. But what I'm saying, like, why? I'm not saying that it's necessarily the right thing to do, but if you did it, why would you not expect them to, when they took over in the executive branch, try to do it as well? It makes no sense. It's so hypocritical to say, oh, we can appoint however many judges we want, but when you guys are in there, that's pretty bad for you to do it. It's like, always increased over time, the amount of Supreme Court justices.
I guess think about it. I'm sorry, Tim. You go ahead.
No, go ahead. We have over 330 million people in the United States now. We're not going to stick with the original number of justices we had.
Yeah.
So that you saying that actually just brought something to my attention. So Interestingly, and I had not thought of this prior, so this just came to me. So if we treat the judicial branch like Congress, the House, every 10 years, we redo lines, redo mapping based on population. So we went from 3 justices 200 some odd years ago to 5 to 7 to now 9. If we treated it like representative towards population, in theory, we would have more justices to represent the rest of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they should have more work to do.
So I think if you frame it as that, which we know Democrats are not very good at messaging whatsoever, and they're going to let Republicans run around using the term court packing, which is what Mitch McConnell has done the last 8 years he's been leader of the Senate. Because for listeners out there, it's not a secret. Mitch McConnell literally stonewalled every Obama appointee while he had the Senate majority. So, and then today we're seeing these rulings that are just horrendous towards people. And I think a lot of times, again, people don't see the judiciary as something that's very important, vitally important. What do we think about term limits for the Supreme Court justices?
I think lifetime appointments are kind of
outdated.
Yeah, antiquated. Go ahead.
It seems very Victorian to have lifetime judges.
There's a lot of fragments of our government that are antiquated and built off weird systems. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense in today's world.
Yeah, I mean, probably Congress too could do with, I know they're elected, but, and I guess I go back and forth on the term limits for Congress, because if, I feel like Nancy Pelosi being 80 is not a good representative of the country, considering the average age in the country is 40, not 80, which the average age in Congress is 60. It's not a good representation of the country. And she's making decisions off of being a progressive from 1970, which is a lot different than now. We need different things.
Yeah.
So, but then it's also up to the people. And it's like these people continue to vote these people. They bitch about them constantly. Then they put them right back in office. So it's like you can still, there are Democratic primaries. Go vote, So.
And older people tend to turn out more and vote more anyway. Even though they're less of the population, they're more represented than the younger people.
And
pound for pound.
Yeah, and they feel represented by someone who is 80. So.
Yeah, exactly. So they see a guy that looks like their next door neighbor at the country club, and they're like, that guy's good to go. That guy's good. He's got my best interest in heart, and they vote for him.
So yeah, it's like, thanks Nancy Pelosi for your service. You're public servant for 30 some odd 40 years. It's like, thank you, but pass the torch to somebody else, And if I'm so Dianne Feinstein, the Democratic senator of California, she's 87 years old. Why do you even feel the need to do all this travel during a pandemic? Like, she has 10 grandchildren. Spend time with your family. You're 87. You've already
even have the capacity to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, mentally you do get a little, slower. It's not a secret. It's medical fact. And it's why should you be making decisions that could send us to war or not? I just feel like, again, it's not a good system. And I think we can say that for a whole of government.
And on the topic of term limits, if one factor is to reduce outside influence, so, I'm not trying to get reelected, so my stance is impartial. How do you even address that? Because you take money out of politics. That's
needed.
That's a big step one. It's just funny that we have to factor in corruption. We can't have these people taking money or taking these promises to get reelected on the Supreme Court while we're okay with that happening on the lower level.
Mm-hmm. No,
that's one of my main things about term limits. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good, Tim. Go for it.
One of my main things about term limits, it encourages them to get older, and it encourages them to be in it longer and have more chances to just get totally ingrained with outside help, people getting them reelected, this and this and that. And then by the time they get to where they've been doing it for 30 years, they're more of a representative of whoever's paying them than they are of the people they're supposed to be representing.
Right.
And they're just some old guy in a chair at that point.
I agree.
Sometimes I even wonder about the concept of re-election. Like, we talk about times changing. We're no longer in many years ago where technology wasn't advancing as fast as it is. You need kind of people cycling in that are new to the scene. This is maybe way too crazy, but I feel that you need fresh faces kind of introduced regularly to keep things moving along. I mean, I was talking about antiquated systems in government. That we have antiquated people in the government. I mean, there's no reason that some of these people should still be in office. And as you guys are saying, they're not representative of the United States. They're representative of the United States many years ago.
Yeah, I agree.
It's
go for it.
It's impossible to age and just continue changing with the times. Like, it's impossible to go from being a 40-year-old adult to an 80-year-old adult and change your whole personality and everything like that and be caught up with what you're doing now. It's just not feasible. You become yourself, and it's not something that you can control. It's the same reason why someone who was a kid in the 80s likes music from the 80s more than like music from 2010. It's just when you stick around for that long, that's where you're at. And that's always good to flush it with new blood, new people coming through. Like, it's never bad to have more people and more opinions coming into the scene. That's never a bad thing.
I think, and this is to Josh's, both of yours point, really, we're talking about money in politics, and Josh was talking about the advances in technology with elections and stuff and who we're getting money from. It's another issue. So back in the day, I mean, we'll go way back in the day, say we had 13 colonies. You're not going to see people in New York donating to a senator in Georgia. Like, now we've seen, like, if Republicans are set to flip a seat in Michigan, a lot of that money is not coming from people in Michigan. It may be coming from people in Kansas or Republicans in New York or corporations in California, so that are having a say on an election way across the other side of the country. And are the people in that state really, is it representative to them if they're taking money from outside people? I mean, we see the same things playing out in South Carolina. The Democrat, very good fundraiser. He's getting a lot of money, but a lot of it, yes, is from South Carolina, but a lot of it is from Democrats across the country. Right. And on either side, I don't think that helps, because we're getting swayed by outside forces in an election. And it's basically election tampering with finances. Yeah. And it's not representative of the people in that area.
And it's like, you can't tell me this money doesn't come with
strings
favors. Yeah.
No, you don't give somebody $7 million and just say, do with that what you will.
Yeah.
Here's $7 million. Raise my taxes. So all right. Couple questions.
Oh dear.
Both of you.
Tim, get limber. Do your stretches. I'm so scared.
Do Josh first.
Me?
I'm just gonna go round table. Don't stress. You got that nice suit. You're freaking cleaned up. You got Smoking Joe in the background.
What do you think about that, Joe?
God, I hope he wears that if he's inaugurated. Freaking rips those shades off. All right, so both of you, is Joe Biden gonna win?
Can we commit to that yet?
For the sake of the episode,
I think he stands a bigger chance of winning. I think Trump has a harder time to win. But, I mean, look at 2016. That kind of went... I know you anticipated that, but I don't think a lot of people were expecting Trump to win. My chair just broke, but I'm okay.
The difference for me, and I'll let Tim jump in on this in a minute. The difference for me is 2016 compared to now, and just a representative of our area, which is a swing county in Florida. I did not see one Hillary Clinton sign or anyone canvassing for her or anyone doing rallies on the bridges and up the road for her.
I feel like that's anecdotal, though. And I think
I know. Look at the Trumpers. I mean, they did that in 2016 and they won. So
I think everyone that supported Hillary assumed Hillary was going to win
mhm.
and didn't actually do anything to get her in.
A lot
to
of people
office.
didn't want to be, oh, she's going to win, so I don't want to tarnish my reputation by voting for her, basically. If that is tarnishing
And I
your
don't think-
reputation. But
I do not think people are going to assume anymore. I think they're going to go and actually put their vote in.
that's like people our age, I think, assumed a lot from what I saw. So
Yeah.
To me, I see it. I try not and parse the signs and the rallies and the things I'm seeing. It's hard not to, but I think I just want to see the actual data before I commit to like, oh yeah, I've seen more Biden signs. That means he stands a greater chance.
I just think there's more enthusiasm, whether it's enthusiasm for him or enthusiasm for voting Donald Trump out. Still enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I
but
kinda
is that enthusiastic 1,000 people compared to?
No, you're right. You're right. Tim, is Biden going to win or no?
I can't say yes. I can't say
Yeah.
100% that Joe Biden is going to win. Sorry about that, guys. That's
You're
ridiculous.
good.
Can you hear
Tim's
that?
got his dogs locked in his loft in the back.
In the White House.
I hear you
I can't
guys.
say-
One day I'm like there's no way he can lose, and the next day is kind of like shit.
The thing is, you don't want to get complacent.
I agree.
I
I
mean-
agree. All right, so the jury's still out. We're all traumatized after 2016, so we don't really want to answer that question fully. So
I will say I give him a much higher chance of winning, like 66-33 Biden.
as opposed to 50-50 prior. Although New York Times was giving Hillary 93-7, so
That's what I'm saying, and I'm not. Yeah.
We don't want to be that.
No.
I think that's
too confident. That's idiocy right there. So next question. The projected Democrats are expected now. This is by Politico and all the people who follow this stuff 24/7. Democrats in the House are projected to flip 12 to 20 more seats. So are we pretty confident Democrats are going to keep the House?
I think we can. Really, Tim? What's that face for?
I can't imagine it changing.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty certain to keep the House.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
We're in
agree.
agreement then.
Okay. All right. Will this is the tricky one. Will Democrats flip the Senate? Now, before we answer, these are all the swing states. Now, it was about 4 or 5. Now that things have been going on, the campaign's been going on, I'm going to read you guys the list of all the states that are tied or within a point of either candidate. So Maine, North Carolina, Colorado. Well, Colorado were up big, but still that's a flip for Democrats if they get it. 2 seats in Georgia, South Carolina, Montana, Iowa, Arizona, Texas. And as of yesterday, Alaska, Kansas, and Kentucky are within 5 points. So Republicans are very much on the defensive this year. I see Maine flipping. I see North Carolina flipping. I see Colorado flipping.
I see Colorado.
I see Arizona flipping.
Okay. I can get with that.
I can see Montana flipping too. I mean, he's up. The Democrat's up. He was a governor elected in Montana 2 times. He's term limited. It's tough, it seems, but it's funny. Montana has more Democratic representation than the state of Florida. So they have a Democratic governor, Democratic lieutenant governor, and they got 1 Democratic senator as is. If he wins, it will be Democratic governor, lieutenant governor, and 2 Democratic senators as the Florida Republican governor and 2 Republican senators. So the 2 races in Georgia for our listeners as well. They don't do things, if you win, you win. You have to get 50% of the vote, you win. If you don't, the top 2 candidates go to a runoff in January. The 1 race with an incumbent senator, they're all polling at 25%. It's probably going to be a Democrat to Republican with a Republican advantage in January. The other race is the incumbent now and a new younger challenger, John Ossoff, who's actually polling ahead, but he doesn't have the 50%. So if Democrats can swing 1 seat there, that would be a pickup that I don't think anyone expected. So
I think on this topic, we kind of covered it, but it's hard to buy into the numbers until I see the results. I know we want us to commit to like, yes, they're gonna win, or I think we'll pick up some of those seats that we were talking about, but
mind you, we do have a Democrat up for re-election in Alabama that I don't see winning.
no.
So that's a seat we're going to lose. They're not running Roy Moore again, so they don't have a pedophile child molester as their nominee. So I don't see. They got an old college football coach as the Republican nominee, Tommy Tuberville.
That's the classic.
Yeah.
No.
When Nick Saban retires, he'll be the senator there till he dies. Governor.
I was gonna say Bob Saget.
Oh my god!
Can't wait for Governor Belichick.
True. I'm gonna say Democrats are gonna flip the Senate. I think the map is too unfavorable to Republicans, and I just see even if they win the bare minimum, get the bare minimum flips, they're gonna have it whether it's 50 to 50 and Biden wins, giving the edge to Democrats, or 51 to 49. I see it. I see them flipping it. They only need 4 net seats. I don't see them not getting that.
I could very easily see them getting it.
That I can agree with. The individual states, it's too iffy, but I could probably see us picking up the seats.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it as a net gain aspect, there's literally 13 states that Republicans are on the defensive, 1 that we're on the defensive. When you're talking a net gain of 4, I mean, I think it's doable. Could be completely wrong.
I see a little Batman symbol in the Oval Office.
Oh, what? What?
It was behind.
Oh, he saw it. All right. This has probably been this has been one of the more talked about things. If Donald Trump loses, is he leaving? Is he leaving?
Okay. I don't see this going smoothly.
What does until January 20th, 2021 look like for us, for everybody?
If he loses, it's going to be a mess. And then to that note, like let's say he steps down peacefully, all that stuff, which it's funny that I can't even commit to that. But let's say that happens. I don't think he's leaving the spotlight by any means. I think he's going to be
he does.
Very vocal. Fox News correspondent.
Yeah, we're going to keep hearing from him for sure. We're going to keep hearing from him.
Is that the Republican Party now? Like, is it just Trump's party? Because I mean, he does have 93% support of Republicans. So
100%.
I mean, do we see like a day back to the Mitt Romneys of the world, or?
And because of that, I could also see a very cyclical 4 years of Biden, and then Trump's just been riding the bandwagon, the hatred bandwagon, that he picks up support and pushes one of his spawn or whoever to run.
Yeah, it has to be somebody that's not him, because I think him and Joe are done after this. Both of them would probably agree they're both too old to go.
Watching the news last night, though, if Donald Trump loses, he can run again in 2024. And now, as long as he's alive, which was a good point on TV, as long as he's alive, he's not going to let his kids take the spotlight over him. So he will run until he dies if he loses. But I'm serious, and that's something you have to think about. The main question here is just say he's gone for good. You know what? I don't know. Let's say he fell off the face of the earth. Is the Republican Party now Don Jr. the presumptive nominee for 2024?
I would bet on that. I mean, at least him running.
Yeah,
I
agree.
Gaining some speed. Because the problem with the Republican Party is you had like a Mitt Romney or John McCain. You had very kind of plain base Republican, like they stuck to the base values, but they weren't very exciting.
At least they had a platform.
Right, but Trump is kind of like don't crucify me, but Obama inspired, was very inspirational.
No, you're right.
Trump was kind of inspirational for that party.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it be for the wrong reasons, I mean, that's a personal opinion, I suppose, but he was a very exciting candidate for them.
I don't know how you feel, Tim, but I think we're probably not going to know who the president is for a bit. We're not going to know tomorrow. It's
That was what I was going to bring up for sure.
Oh yeah, we're not. I mean, we'll see initial results, but we're not going to know any certainty until we see a president.
That was my biggest fear, is that Donald Trump is winning on election day,
and he says he won,
and they count up the votes later, and he's already like, well, I won.
If you take out the mail-in ballots, I won every state. Yeah, so that's my issue.
Now they all of a sudden count these votes that weren't here on election day.
And there was a reason they put the Supreme Court justice in.
I was literally about to say
8 days before the election.
Slam that justice in, but they can't slam a stimulus relief in.
And we're from Florida, so we've seen the Supreme Court intervene on presidential elections all too well. We know that. So it's going to be that time. I feel like if Joe Biden does win, the time period from November 4th till January 20th is probably going to be the darkest days of his presidency. I think you will see completely off the rails Donald Trump calling to his base, getting them riled up, saying everything was cheated, it was rigged, fraudulent mail-ins, illegal immigrants voted, all this nonsense rhetoric that we know is not true. And I think that's very dangerous. And you think you've seen looting and rioting now. Just wait, because the same people who are sitting there bashing, people in Portland or whatever, and Black Lives Matter people, I think they're capable of doing some destruction. So,
yeah, I mean, I felt
because he's been on
Go ahead, Tim.
Sorry, that's why I said that was my biggest fear, was the whole Biden. I mean, Trump is ahead on election day, and then Biden ends up winning after they count all the ballots, because it's going to take longer this year. Mm-hmm. My biggest fear was, once Trump is he's much better on the offensive than he is on the defensive. Mm-hmm. So once he's like, okay, I just need to hammer this in. I need, I was ahead of an election day. I'm the president of the United States. He just starts going insane about it. I could see it causing a whole lot of problems, because his base is really into whatever he says.
Mm-hmm. I think even a close Biden win, we would still have that from Trump. I mean, I think we're going to have that anyway, but he gets more speed if it's a close win.
Which that's one thing that I absolutely hate. And I heard it on the news. Biden has to win big if we're going to win. And I'm like, God, do you know what kind of shitty, broken system you're in? If a win has to be by 10 million votes and you have to win the Electoral College by 70 votes. I mean, God, you win if you have one more vote than the other guy, you should fucking win the election. Like, it's such a stupid system. It's absolutely
I still think the Electoral College is pretty bullshit, honestly.
Again, I was talking about this earlier. We have an outdated system of government, and it's not yes, you can compare it to other systems and be like, okay, it's somewhat functional, but it's very dysfunctional in so many ways. The Electoral College, the amount of money in politics, Supreme Court. I mean, we can change this episode however many ways we want it. We talked about all those topics. I mean, it's
not to discredit the founding fathers. They had to do what they had to do at the time.
Well, yes, it was a great system then.
But now, if you look at laws, and even Roe v. Wade and things of that nature, like actual solidified laws, and you compare them to certain countries and stuff, America is, and just look at voting, like popular vote wise, America is a center left country, but our systems are keeping us very center right. And we are moving down a very, very disturbing path of alt-right, because now you have the courts locked up. You're able to win elections because North Dakota and South Dakota get 4 senators with a combined population of 1 million people, and California has 2 senators for 40 million people. So it's just the House, I think, is very representative of the country. I have no issues with the House. The Senate is the way the Senate is, done, which I get it. I understand. I don't say you change the Senate necessarily. I don't say you give California 6 senators, but there's a reason Democrats always have the House for the most part, barring the last couple, Obama years. The Democrats typically have the House quite a bit, but it seems like they can never capture the Senate that much. They're always on the defensive more so than the offensive. This is one of those rare years.
Well, because when they drafted the Senate, they were not anticipating 50 states, 330 million people. They were not anticipating, they could not have possibly, I mean, it needs to be, stuff like that needs to be changed, because how could they possibly anticipate where the country would have gone in 200 years? It's just not feasible.
And even this topic that we're talking about right now, like, okay, the Democrats and Republicans control this form and this form of government. That is a problem. It shouldn't be such, okay, you're a Republican, these are your beliefs, that's it. It's, oh, you're a Democrat, these are your beliefs, that's it. Like, it should be a much more flexible platform, and like, okay, this senator supports this, and this, and
but that's the flaw of the two-party system. I mean, in Canada, even you see like their parliament is made up of 6 different parties.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, yeah, that's the biggest lie they tell about the two-party system too, is that if you vote outside of Democrat or Republican, you're throwing away your vote, because they want you to pick between their two guys. They don't want you to, worry about anything else.
Right.
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, historically, it does really affect one party more so than the other because of the Electoral College. If we didn't have the Electoral College, a third-party vote, I mean, Al Gore would have won, Hillary would have won. So the Electoral College has only stopped Democrats who've won the popular vote from actually being elected. So I think it's the system. The Electoral College is really throwing things back. And I heard yesterday too, they're like, I don't know how we reform the court. Do we add justices? Do we do 6 Republicans, 6 Democrats, and 6 independents? And I'm like, there are no independents really politically, because people are always biased. There's no one who's really middle of the road on an issue, especially a justice. You're either going to have this side of things, how you understand the Constitution, and you have this side of how you're going to understand the Constitution. There's no independent justice. And I think that's the biggest farce we tell people is, I will be an independent judiciary and I will look at both sides. No. Amy Coney Barrett is a hardcore alt-right cultist person who's never tried a case in her life. She is purely a partisan tool on the Supreme Court so that if Trump loses, he's got help in his corner. It's just being blunt. It is the truth. There's no reason why they appoint a justice at 9:00 at night, 8 days before an election with no one paying attention. So,
yeah, you have it. I 100% agree with you there.
Yeah.
I mean, someone involved in hate groups. How can you? Again, you can't interpret both sides. You actively engage in hate.
Yeah,
it's like the opposite of being impartial.
I mean, wrapping things up here. This is more of a, just I really wanted to pick your guys' brain to see what's important to you guys. If Biden wins and we're this happy unicorn place where Trump is like, good job, congratulates him, rainbows are flowing, it's raining dogs, we all have a dog, and we're just holding hands on a rainbow with a pot of gold there. And then Josh, I'll start with you. What are 3 things you want done in Joe Biden's first 100 days?
First 100 days. I mean, there's a lot of things we can focus on.
Mine, and if he's smart, if they're smart tactically, Democrats, what are the biggest issues we've seen from this pandemic? We need higher wages, so minimum wage to me, a public option for healthcare, because how many millions of people lost their healthcare because they lost their jobs? And third, I mean, just obviously take care of the fucking pandemic. Do something. Listen to a scientist, a doctor.
So mine would probably be pandemic addressing in some fashion. Does that include stimulus? I would probably throw stimulus in there for those.
That's general.
Probably healthcare. Now I want to ask you: does Obamacare survive either way?
I think it does, but I think it's going to change quite a bit. I don't think it's going to be. Though. I think because to not be a naysayer, we've seen now all of a sudden 65% of the American population is for the Affordable Care Act. Most of them being in rural areas because they realize like they're screwed if they don't have it. So I think you would see too much pushback on that. Again, it's hard to pick. I mean, what do you think, Tim?
I got to go with Josh with, I mean, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, so that has to be obviously the first thing that we address. And with you, I also agree that during the pandemic, it really kind of reiterated to everyone, oh shit, nobody's making any money and nobody has any savings that's in the lower portion of our, population income wise. They're physically not making enough money to survive unless they are constantly bringing in that money. So it's just not feasible for people to be working, like two kids, both of them working full time, not able to support themselves. That's just not something that I believe is at all fair.
Especially in the
in any
richest
capacity.
country in the history of the world as well. We got
Yeah, exactly.
kids living on the street, but Bezos is worth $210 billion. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around. But I think
I love this break up the monopolies thing they've been doing lately too with the Facebook and everything. I hope that continues.
100%. Listen, I've said it before. Zuckerberg's a sociopath. Like they literally need to rein these guys in. We had to do it in 1900s with Teddy Roosevelt with big corporations. It's time to do it with big tech. Antitrust.
And bring
100%.
Teddy back to life.
True.
Theodore.
Teddy was like the most bipartisan person on the planet. He was literally.
That's what I tell people. They're like, "Oh, you're not a Republican?" Be like, "I'm a Teddy Roosevelt Republican because he actually had values and stood for something and took down corporations and didn't give handouts to the elitists." So, it's going to be interesting. So, we'll stay tuned. Tim, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yes, thank
Glad
you.
to be on.
Yeah, no, this was great. I'm glad everything worked out. You took the time away from Capitol Hill to help us out.
Yeah.
And I just want to mention to our viewers, there's still time to vote. Tomorrow, last day. Make sure you vote. If you haven't already, get a plan together, get people, but wear your masks and whatnot. Be safe. Go vote. This literally is a very consequential election, and you can decide how this country goes. And now that we're on video, for all of our listeners who are listening on audio, if you want to watch the video, we're on YouTube. Just search the Nurse Bros. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Nurse Bros podcast on YouTube. Keep helping the show grow. Spread the word about us. If you guys get your podcast, like I said, through Spotify, Apple, Google, on any of those sites, just search the Nurse Bros.
And you can also check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Nurse Bros for any updates and contacts. That's kind of our base of operations for now.
So we appreciate you guys. Stay safe out there. And thank you guys. Thank you, gentlemen. Be safe. And
thank you, Tim.
We'll see what happens.
Very insightful.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you, Josh.
Bye. Bye.